Imagine a country smaller than New York City, yet trusted to host some of the most sensitive meetings on the planet. That country is Singapore. From the groundbreaking Trump-Kim summit in 2018 to the historic meeting between Chinese President Xi Jinping and Taiwan's then-leader Ma Ying-jeou in 2015, and the annual Shangri-La Dialogue that brings together defense ministers from around the world, Singapore has become a global crossroads for high-stakes diplomacy. In this video, we explore how a tiny city-state turned itself into one of the world's most trusted diplomatic venues. Singapore's foreign policy is often summarized as a friend to all, an enemy to none. Since independence in 1965, its leaders have understood that, as a small state, survival depends on being relevant and reliable in the international system. This means three things: strict neutrality in great power rivalries, predictable respect for international law, and a reputation for security and efficiency. Let's start with two of the most high-profile events. In November 2015, Singapore hosted a landmark meeting between Xi Jinping and Ma Ying-jeou, the first meeting between the top leaders of China and Taiwan since 1949. The choice of venue mattered. Singapore recognizes the People's Republic of China, but has long maintained practical, unofficial ties with Taiwan. Neutral, familiar to both sides, and politically low drama, Singapore was acceptable to Beijing and Taipei alike. Then, in June 2018, the world's attention turned again to Singapore as it hosted the summit between U.S. President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. This was the first-ever meeting between sitting leaders of the United States and North Korea, held on Sentosa Island. Why Singapore? Both Washington and Pyongyang cited Singapore's security, logistical capabilities, and political neutrality. The city-state could guarantee tight security, has world-class hotels and communications, and enjoys good relations with both countries. Singapore's leaders framed the summit as part of their contribution to regional and global peace, even as they were careful not to overclaim credit for the diplomatic outcome. But Singapore's role in security diplomacy is not limited to one-off summits. Every year, Singapore hosts the Shangri-La Dialogue, organized by the International Institute for Strategic Studies. Since 2002, this defense forum has brought together defense ministers, military chiefs, and security experts from Asia, the U.S., Europe, and beyond. The dialogue has become a key stage for major power speeches. U.S. defense secretaries use it to outline Washington's Indo-Pacific strategy. Chinese defense ministers respond with their own vision. Southeast Asian countries raise concerns about the South China Sea, military modernization, and crisis management. Singapore, as host, does not control the global conversation, but by providing a safe, respected platform, it shapes the way that conversation happens. In recent years, especially as U.S.-China rivalry has intensified, Singaporean leaders have used the Shangri-La Dialogue to call for restraint and cooperation. Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong's 2019 keynote stressed that Asia should not be forced to choose sides, arguing that a stable balance and open regionalism are in everyone's interest. This balancing act is central to Singapore's diplomatic identity. The country hosts U.S. military assets, including access to its naval and air facilities, while simultaneously deepening economic and diplomatic ties with China. It is a founding member of ASEAN and a strong supporter of multilateral trade agreements like the CPTPP and RCEP. Across these platforms, Singapore consistently champions rules-based order and open, inclusive regionalism. Behind these high-profile events lies something more basic: trust. Foreign delegations know that Singapore can deliver world-class security, reliable infrastructure, and discreet handling of sensitive negotiations. Its strict laws, low corruption, and efficient public service make it easier to manage complex summits with minimal drama. At the same time, Singapore is careful not to appear as a mediator in conflicts where it is not directly involved. Its leaders prefer the language of facilitator or venue provider, offering space and support, but not imposing solutions. What does this mean for the future? As geopolitical tensions increase, the demand for credible neutral venues may grow. Singapore is likely to continue hosting dialogues, Track 2 meetings, and perhaps future summits involving major powers or regional disputes. However, the risks are real. If rivalry between major powers escalates, pressure on small states to choose sides will intensify. Singapore's challenge will be to preserve its reputation as a trusted platform while protecting its own national interests. For now, this city-state of under 6 million people occupies an outsized place in global diplomacy, not by force of arms or population, but by carefully cultivated trust, neutrality, and competence. In a world where dialogue is increasingly difficult, a small island's ability to bring big powers to the same table has become in itself a strategic asset. And that is how Singapore, a tiny dot on the map, became one of the world's most important stages for global affairs.